The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
this is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. A hazy day here in Southern California, but not hazy if you're a fantasy baseball junkie. This seems to be the week and the weekend that all the drafts are happening. Some people have them during the week. Some people have them Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On the Subway Fresh Take Hotline right now, but in studio, ESPN's Matthew Berry. What's happening?
Hey, man, how are you?
It's been, the last time I think we did this was the 90210 pod that I think is going to get nominated for a Peabody.
We can only hope. It should be, if there's any justice in this world. I know I'm a little nervous, after that masterpiece coming back.
It is. I almost didn't. It's like after you did, kind of how Coppola felt after Godfather 1.
Right.
Did he want to go back? Did he want to do a sequel?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I got so many to this day. I still get like emails or tweets like, "Oh, I re-listened to it," or checking it out. It's as timeless as the show itself, Bill.
Well, I'll tell you, it's at the very least it had the most female listeners we've ever had for a BS Report. I'll tell you that much because it got circulated in all the female blogs and stuff. So that was great.
It's certainly probably the most females that have ever listened to anything I've ever done. No question about that.
What do you think? I was very upset that Jason Priestley is going to be doing this 4-episode sci-fi show that I've never heard of. Like,
the Western the Western thing that he directed with Luke Perry, or the sci-fi show?
That was a whole other thing. That was for the Hallmark Channel, and now he's on Sci-Fi, and it's like, hey, Fox, just step up to the plate and have Brandon Walsh come back. Just send him a check.
Right.
Get this done.
Oh, you mean so you're saying Fox, or are you saying CW on the new 90210?
No, I'm saying Fox.
Oh, just bring the whole gang back. Listen, the truth is...
Not the gang. I'm saying Brandon, Dylan, and Steve Sanders, and they're all divorced. They're living in Hollywood Hills in some mansion. Brandon's like the star columnist at the LA Times. Dylan has been an internet entrepreneur. He's made $100 million. He doesn't know what to do with his money again. And Steve Sanders is dealing with male pattern baldness. And those are the three plots. And they're all in the Hollywood Hills house like chasing women.
You know what? I'm in. Sign me up for 100
Who's not
episodes.
in on that? And what could Jason Priestley possibly be doing that he'd say no to that?
Exactly. You know what? I mean, I'm trying to think of what he could possibly do. I guess he doesn't want to do there's sort of the argument like, well, kind of been there, done that. But when you're doing when you're doing 4 episodes on the Sci-Fi Channel,
that's the thing,
right? At that point, you pretty much said, yeah, you know what? I've lost my pride. And
you're not walking away from the new CSI franchise here. You're on the Sci-Fi Channel,
right?
It's time to be Brandon Walsh again, Jason. Give it up,
right? Sci-Fi, 4 episodes on the Sci-Fi, not even like a full season.
And Luke Perry, I don't even know what just get the band back together.
I don't know.
Everybody needs it.
Was Ian Ziering on Dancing with the Stars? I think that's like the last thing he did. I
mean, when you play the Dancing with the Stars card and now it's 3 years later, that's the last card to play other than a celebrity sex tape. That's it.
And that could easily be a plot on our 90210 Redux here.
I'm going to get a nasty email from Erin Andrews now.
Why is that?
Well, because she was on Dancing with the Stars, I mean, she was on it for different reasons than Ian Ziering. Because I think they have that Ian Ziering Ralph Macchio spot for it's the last vestige of the nostalgic celebrity.
Well, yes, that's correct, because Ian had his height and fame, and then 6, 7, 8, 10 years later, he's doing Dancing with the Stars. Aaron's star was still on the rise at that point. So
Aaron is like this year. Not to compare her to Kendra Wilkinson, but Kendra Wilkinson has that spot this year of the on-the-rise, relevant, attractive female celebrity.
Right.
They basically try to fit people into the groups. Like Kirstie Alley is kind of the celebrity who let herself go. Hines Ward is the quote-unquote athlete.
Right.
And everybody fits their spot. So with Ian Ziering and now Ralph Macchio this year, this is the last time we'll ever see them for an extended period of time spot.
Well, which one is then? Here's a question for you. Which one is Melissa Joan Hart then? Is Melissa Joan Hart the let herself go or the last vestige?
No, that's one of those. Maybe this will reignite their career, maybe not spots. They were much hotter 8 years ago than they are now, but it's that we're not necessarily willing to rule this out that they might not become famous again.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch was never, ever funny and yet unbelievably watchable.
Yeah, I did kind of enjoy it.
It's like it was one of those things where you're just like, wow, this is a terrible show. And then, whatever, I'm 3 episodes in.
Let's move to fantasy baseball before people kill themselves. So,
all right, yeah.
Well, first of all, we need to talk about your behavior at some of these fantasy drafts. There's a lot of rumors going around. You're getting in arguments with people. You're bringing up obscure rules. Like, what's happened to you?
What are these? I'm more than happy to answer any and all charges. I need to know what specifically they are.
Supposedly that we're 2 years away from you being wheeled into these drafts like Hannibal Lecter, and you're just making your bids through some sort of metal mask.
Yeah, well, I think that's less than 2 years away. I think that's probably 2 weeks away. Where does this come from?
It may or not be John Walsh just claiming that your behavior is unacceptable. But first, my defense for you was that you like to kind of start trouble and you like to get riled up for stuff. It's kind of part of your strategy, isn't it?
A little bit. I'm also passionate about it. First up, and Walsh is the last guy to talk, okay? Because have you ever been you've done an auction with Walsh, right? Walsh is like a muckety muck here, and so Walsh just makes up whatever rules he wants.
Well,
and
Walsh the older people can always play the card of they can try to get away. It's almost like in the airport security line. when it's only first class passengers can board, but anybody over 60 can just plow ahead and then claim they didn't realize it was first class and nobody will challenge them.
Right.
Walsh plays that card for fantasy baseball.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't realize we couldn't bid on him. Oh, I didn't hear that.
Right.
He's
what do you mean? What do you mean he only qualifies there?
When do we say that?
When do we say that?
Master that?
He should be an outfielder. He's going to play there this year. So
he turns it on you.
Right. Exactly. So first off, I respectfully disagree with his criticism there. What he's speaking about is last night I was in a muckety muck draft with Walsh.
Muckety muck means it's a year draft, no keepers.
No, muckety muck means it's a bunch of high level suits and management here at ESPN, and I'm the fantasy monkey that gets brought in, right?
Ooh.
Right.
In a cage?
Yeah. Yes. That's why I said it's a little 2 weeks away for the Hannibal Lecter, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm in there, and so we're doing the draft, we're doing the thing, and I brought in a guy named Brendan Roberts, who's one of our fantasy editors. He's terrific to run the auction. Okay. Yeah. But he wasn't going fast enough for a guy named John Diver, who's also in the league, and Diver's like, we got to go fast. We got to go. Let me just take over. Diver's
you put an auctioneer power play,
right? Which is crazy, but whatever. I mean, it's all anyway. So we're down at the end of the draft, and everyone sort of saved their money, and I have typically waited on saves. So what Diver has been doing is, there's the scene, right? So now Diver is sitting there going, all right, somebody gets thrown out. Adam LaRoche for $1, going once, going twice, sold. Like he's doing it literally that quick. Right, because we're down at we've been there 3.5 hours. Everyone's
you don't like that when it goes quick.
I'm fine. No, I'm fine with it. My only thing with auctions is it's got to be consistent. I don't care if the cadence is super fast or super slow. It just needs to be consistent for every player, because otherwise it drives you nuts. So this is, and I bet you this has happened to you, Bill, and everyone out there that's listening that's played this has happened to them. So anyway, Diver, who's in the league, right? He's not an impartial auctioneer. He decided to take this power play of an impartial auctioneer and just do it. So whatever. No one's saying anything. And I nominate Francisco Rodriguez for $2. He's sort of been laying in the weeds. It's a 10-team mixed league, so it's a shallow league. So before people are like, what?
Are you talking about guy who punched his father-in-law in the face, Francisco Rodriguez, or the other Francisco Rodriguez?
No, the very same. The one who's jail time. Right, not the Angels one. The one who's the closer for the Mets. And so I say, I say $2 because whatever, his personal life notwithstanding, he's the closer for the Mets. He should have a good year. He certainly.
Plus, who hasn't wanted to punch their father-in-law in the face? I mean,
me actually. I had a great father-in-law. Actually.
I'm kidding. I like my father-in-law too,
Sure
and he actually
do.
listens to the podcast, so he's probably.
So you have
right
to
now.
say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so here's what. So I nominate, and he's been going once, going twice, going to. So I nominate a Francisco Rodriguez for $2, and he goes Francisco Rodriguez $2, going once. Really? No one's bidding on this? Are you kidding me? We're going to give him $2 for two.
See, that, you can't
and I'm like, come on. He's like, going twice. Seriously, someone's got to pop in here. And then somebody else says, oh yeah, $3. And I'm like, come on. And actually, here's what he goes. He's like, come on, no one at $2. He's like, all right, it's going to be. And then he was like halfway through sold, and then someone said, all right, fine, $3. He's like, $3. He got it in. And I'm like, dude, come on, what are you doing? Keep it consistent. So I got upset at that because I'm just like, look, and the other guy was like, I don't care, I'll take it back. I'm like, no, I don't care. I'll go $4. Fine, $4 on Francisco Rodriguez. He's still cheaper than he should be, but my point was, it's less about the money. I don't even care. But it was just like the blatant abuse of power that really bothered me. And that's right. You know what? I'm passionate about it, John Walsh. That's damn right. That's why you hired me. There you go.
So it sounds like in one of your 1,000 baseball columns that you're going to write over the next 6 months, you should do like maybe some tips
try 15.
Try some tips for auctioneers.
You know what? I should do that.
One. I mean, because I have a couple tips too. One is that the cadence has to be the same every time. You can't rush one. You can't. And if you're going to rush, that's fine. But just tell everyone ahead of time. All right, we're going to move things up. I'm going to go a little faster. And then the second one is the auctioneer should never, ever, ever. It's like Jeff Probst hosting the Survivor Tribal Council.
Right.
You can't affect what people are going to say / bid.
Could not agree more, Bill. That's totally true, and that was my point about it. And meanwhile, then I started making fun of him, and everyone's laughing. Everyone's agreeing with me, by the way. It was outrageous behavior.
I like when you get riled up, actually.
Listen, this was my 4th league that I was drafting that I'm actually going to play out, and I think I have at least 4 more that I know of. So I mean, look, I don't care. It was more about the principle of the matter that just drove me up a wall. That anyway.
Let's go rapid fire right now.
All right, rapid fire. Yes, sir.
Your colleague Jason Gray,
terrific,
wrote a top fantasy baseball prospects for 2011 column.
Right.
Now here's one of my pet peeves with the fantasy industry.
Okay.
So, Baseball America and Baseball Prospectus released their top 100 prospects like in late February.
Mm-hmm.
Comes out, very informative, always good to know where people are ranked for people like me in the League of Dorks who have keeper leagues, or people a league where you might be able to keep a guy for a couple years, you want to know who the young guys are on the rise. Then everybody abandons, that's it. Those are the articles, and nobody ever updates them. We never get, like this last week, there should be a revised list by everybody. Hey, here's what happened, because you gotta account for people like Manny Benuelos.
Jason has done a pretty good job of updating it.
Well, that's
overall.
my thing. So this is the one column that I've seen that has a nice little update on, some of the people that have risen up. So we're gonna do a quick hit. So you only get like a sentence or two to say about each guy. His number one. What are you typing? Stop typing.
Hang on.
I need your undivided attention. What are you? You couldn't possibly be doing anything more important. Come on. Give me an hour. Jeremy Hellickson, number 1 on his list.
Yeah, I think he's being overrated.
I kind of agree, and I also think a couple of things with rookie pitchers. One, they never throw more than like 160 innings, right? What rookie pitcher has come in and thrown 200 innings?
The 3 different guys, but I feel like the same sort of thing. We saw David Price come up for about for a month or so, was dominant. Everyone drafted him high. The next year, he was terrible. Then a year later, last year, he was awesome. Same with Wade Davis. He was terrific for about a month. Then came up last year, struggled for the first half. He was better in the second half, but still not where he didn't return the value where you drafted him. And I feel like the same way with Jeremy Hellickson. I'm worried that he struggles to keep the ball in the park a little bit. I'm just slightly worried about that home run rate. Look, I like him a lot, but for a rookie pitcher, first, let's see how he does second and third time through the league in the American League East. Just where he's being drafted, for me, he won't be on any of my teams.
And also, not totally crazy about his throwing motion. Feels like there's some arm problems in his future. Just throwing that out there. And I'm only saying that because I don't have him on my team and I hope he gets hurt. Freddie Freeman?
Yeah, again, I mean, they like him a lot in Atlanta. I don't think he's anything other than a deep NL-only play.
JP Arencibia.
I believe.
Arencibia. I've never heard his name pronounced.
Right.
There you go. Arencibia.
He's going to crush. The question is it going to be in the majors or in AAA?
Well, here's the problem with that. AAA stats don't count.
Right. That is. See? Listen, you're not the host of the BS Report for nothing, Bill. Way to catch on. Yeah. If he struggles early, I think they could send him down. They've already said Jose Molina is going to catch. He's going to be the personal catcher for Brandon Morrow and I forget who else. One of the other guys I forget. But he's basically only going to play 3 days a week as it is. I mean, it's going to be more, a platoon where Arencibia is slightly, on the right side of that. But I think that's another guy. All these guys you're going to mention, by the way, I'm going to have more or less the same response, which is they're being overvalued. Too many people.
Well, then let's go through then and just stop me if you feel like there's somebody who isn't overvalued. Kyle Drabeck, Danny Espinosa, Craig Kimbrell.
Kimbrell's
Minor.
Minor, by the way, Beachy just got named the 5th starter for Atlanta.
Oh, so Dominic Brown?
No. I mean, by the way, I like Ben Francisco more than Dominic Brown. Brown's hurt. Yeah. Ben Francisco is a guy that no one likes, and I think actually will put up. He'll return better fantasy value than Dominic Brown from where he's being drafted versus where Brown is going.
What's the hamate bone?
I actually don't know. That's you should ask Stefania Bell. You should have her on the report.
Dominic Brown
I have no idea what
he has a fractured hook in his hamate bone, and I have no idea where that is in the body.
It just sounds uncomfortable.
It sounds bad. I don't think it comes back from the hamate bone.
It sounds it sounds close to a bad area.
Mr. 105 miles an hour, Chapman.
Now he could be a steal, right? If he was with any other manager other than Dusty Baker, who's kind of a veteran whore, right? He loves the vets. And so Francisco Cordero on any other team would have a much shorter leash, and Chapman could be the closer at some point. But Aroldis Chapman should be one of the first setup guys that gets drafted this year.
Well, and here's another one, and this is a guy that I really like, and I don't mind saying that because he's already owned in my league, and I tried to trade for him, and the guy was smart enough to say no. But Chris Sale in the White Sox, I think he's the closer by June.
I think you're wrong.
You think I'm wrong? Why?
Yes. I think Thornton has elite skills. I think they paid Thornton a lot of money. I think the contract's $12 million. They're both, they're both young guys. I think Thornton is a better, is the slightly better pitcher. I think if Thornton get hurt, I mean that's the only. If you're saying you think Thornton gets hurt, and that's legitimate, right? But I don't know. To me, I feel like Thornton is the guy. They paid him a lot of money. They want him to be the guy. So I don't see a situation where Thornton would lose that job.
Here's my thing.
They both have good skills, and to me, Thornton's the better bet. Yeah, there you go.
Matt Thornton, 34 years old, only started pitching in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Never threw more than 56 innings until 2008 when he was 32. His last 3 years were good. His strikeout, his whip, all the stuff you look at is really, really good. Like he didn't have good luck or bad luck. I don't remember him being one of those guys.
Nope.
One of the FIP guys. One of the FIP all-stars.
Right.
Last year, 60 innings, 41 hits, 81 strikeouts. How is this guy such a late bloomer? I don't understand this. I thought obviously they test for steroids now, so he's not a steroids guy, but how does this guy suddenly become an elite closer at age 34?
You've seen that a lot. I mean, I honestly don't know. I haven't studied Thornton's career trajectory enough to answer that question. But I can tell you that he's been very effective for a while now.
I know. Well, as a setup guy, though.
Yeah.
It's a little different animal when you're the closer, and this is a guy.
It is a little different animal as the closer, but they obviously feel. I mean, they paid the guy $12 million. They're not, and that's a lot of money for a guy to just be the setup guy.
Right.
It is a different animal, but we've seen pitchers with much, much, much less skill set than Matt Thornton get the job done. Antonio Alfonseca is like the poster child for ugly saves.
I don't know. I have a bad feeling about him. I think Chris Sale's the closer.
I
wouldn't bet it with you, but I think he gets in there somehow.
he certainly, he closed a lot of games towards the end of last year. Look, I like him a lot. I think he's definitely worth, $4 or $5 in a AL only league. And again, like we said with Chapman, I like Chapman a little bit more, but if you're looking at setup guys with potential, he's certainly there. But
especially if it's a keeper.
Yeah, no question about it. But
I think he's in that Daniel Bard, Perry and the Tigers, maybe. There's a couple guys in that group that they're setup guys who could give you good stats, but also might be taking over as closer at some point.
I would agree with that. I mean, the one guy I love is right there down the road from you.
Kevin Jepsen?
No, Jordan Walden.
Oh, Jordan Walden.
Jordan Walden.
Interesting.
Is
somebody from that Angels bullpen is going to end up with 40 saves, and it's not going to be Fernando Rodney.
No, exactly. I don't think it's going to be Jepsen. I don't think it's going to be Scott Downs. I don't think it's going to be Takahashi. I think Jordan Walden. Like, you want a sleeper for an AL only. Really like him a lot. And by the way, just speaking of setup guys that we like a lot in LA, Kenley Jensen for the Dodgers is another guy that I really like a lot, a converted catcher.
How about Brian Fuentes on the A's? Feels like he'll end up with 25 saves somehow. And you won't feel good about owning him, but he'll get the saves, I think.
No, we actually, on the podcast I do, the Fantasy Focus podcast.
Yes, good plug.
Thank you very much. I worked that in nicely. On the Fantasy Focus podcast that I do every day with Nate Ravitz, we actually came up for a term with it for an ugly save. Like you get the save, but it's like 2 runs, 2 earned runs, and like 3 walks, 2 hits.
Is it a Torrey Spelling?
No, it is. It's a Dirty Fuentes.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Dirty Fuentes.
Yeah, the Dirty Fuentes.
Well, he's one of those guys you hate. He's like Eddie Guardado is like this too.
Right.
You hate having him on your team, but man, the saves start adding up. He kills you in every other category.
Right.
And he's a heart attack.
Fernando Rodney's one of those guys too. Like if Fernando Rodney wound up with 35 saves and a whip of 1.45, like you wouldn't be shocked by that. Socha, that's the only thing is that Socha does have a long leash. He tends to be, he tends to be very loyal to his guys.
Well, before we talk about this next guy, so in the League of Dorks, I have the number 1 pick in the minor league draft, me and Hench.
Okay.
We're doing.
You and Hench co-own a team?
Yeah, we're partners, and we're partners in every sense.
I knew that. I just didn't want to say it publicly. I didn't know if you guys were out yet.
We're the Ace and Gary of fantasy baseball. So we had the number 1 overall pick. We're doing our draft this weekend, not next weekend.
Okay. At an undisclosed location?
An undisclosed location for 10 hours. And I broke the news to my wife the other day, and she just it doesn't even get a reaction anymore. It's just disgust, like a face and a walk away. So we have this rule that you can't draft anyone in the minor league draft who's going to be called up, who's going to start the year on a major league team.
Oh, okay, all right.
And Michael Pineda, because the Mariners.
I believe it's Pineda.
Pineda.
All right.
You know me, I scrubbed that.
Right, that's all right.
So, because the Mariners are morons, they're going to actually possibly start the season with him, which means we can't draft him number 1 if we wanted to. And I've looked at this from every angle. But they're not going to win the AL West. They have no chance. They're a small market team, so at some point he's probably, if he turns out to be awesome, he'll end up signing with the Yankees or the Red Sox in 7 years anyway. Why the fact that they won't just send him down for a month and bring him back to get that extra year of arbitration is one of the dumbest things I've ever. Like, if I'm a Mariners fan, I'm picketing outside Safeco Field. Because this is so stupid. You're going to cost yourself a year. And the catch of it is he's 22 years old, and he's going to throw 160 innings anywhere. So make the innings May to September. Like, what am I missing here?
You're missing absolutely nothing. They've talked about – I think they've done – they don't need a 5th starter until I want to say something like April 7th. I don't know that it's definite that Pineda is going to make the club. I know they've talked about that they don't want to get cutesy with the – with a time and bring him up after the date so that he could get another year.
I can't tell you how much research I've done on this guy.
Yeah, no, he's terrific. I would say this though, honestly, I tend not to like to draft pitchers in minor league drafts. In my keeper leagues, in my AL and NL only, too much happens from year to year to year, and how many times have we seen a guy that with the next best thing? Even listen, I remember I learned my lesson the hard way, because I assume you guys do it the same way, right? So that you can do contracts, right, and you extend them.
Yep.
Right.
We get them for 4 years basically, and the first 2 years is $5.
Wow.
So it's super cheap.
Super cheap, but
don't have to protect them. Right,
but pitching tends to go cheaper than hitting generally. I remember 10, 15 years ago, however long it was, I had Mark Pryor. I got Mark Pryor in the minor league, as a minor league, hung on to him for a while, had him, came up with the Cubs. He was so awesome, signed into a long-term deal, and then I was stuck with his dead carcass because my league is like, my original league, we play by the book, by the original rotisserie league baseball books. So it's still a 4x4 league. It's NL only, AL only. Once you draft a guy, he has to be on your active roster unless he gets sent down to the minors or gets put on the DL. You can't cut anybody. I mean, hardcore.
Well, the thing with Pinata, though, is the couple of things that I like. Safeco.
Right, of course.
I think is a huge, and the division.
Sure.
And then he's 6'5", so I don't have to worry about him being one of these 5'11" guys whose arm is going to fall off his body. Dave Cameron on USS Mariner wrote a really interesting piece about how he doesn't have a second pitch yet, and that got me a little worried. I've done more research on this guy than any Red Sox player. It's really frightening. I'm actually humiliated by him, and the other guys in the mix are Zach Britton on the Orioles, who looks like he's just ready. I watched him the other day, and he's got that sinker, and it just seems like no matter how bad his team is, he's not gonna, he's just gonna be solid. And then obviously Benuelos and the Yankees, which brings a whole bunch of ethical questions to it, of whether you can be invested in a Yankee. Manny Machado in Baltimore, who's 15 years old.
Right. By the way, speaking of,
and those are our 4 options.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I mean, so some because Jesus Montero, by the way, might not
taken.
Okay, because he's not going to. He might not make the club, actually.
Right, he's taken. Gary Sanchez not taken.
Interesting.
And how funny is it that there's a Gary Sanchez who's a hot prospect? That's the name of the company of Adam McKay and Will Ferrell.
Oh, that's right.
Gary Sanchez
right.
Productions.
Gary Sanchez Productions.
And they did it as a joke name. They thought it was a really funny name. And now this guy might be the Yankees catcher. It's a little weird. But anyway, Pineda seems like he's the safest bet of him and Zach Britton. The problem with Zach Britton is you take an AL East pitcher.
Yeah.
And, they have a stretch where they're going against the Red Sox and the Yankees for 3 straight starts, and all of a sudden they're in a mental hospital.
Right. So guys like Hosmer and Moustakas, those guys are gone. And
Hosmer's on my team, buddy.
Oh, nice.
Did I tell you what my minor league team is?
No.
Nobody's listening anymore at this point.
Exactly. Right. I mean, it's League of Dork times 2. Right. Okay.
Listen to this murderer's row we have, though. Eric Hosmer.
Uh-huh.
Is it Hosmer or Hosmer? I've heard it both ways, and I've never been able to fully figure it out.
I could be wrong. I thought it was Hosmer, but I could be wrong. I'm wrong on names all the time, too. So
Eric Hosmer.
Uh-huh.
Dustin Ackley.
Oh.
Carlos Santana.
Ugh.
Justin put on 15 pounds this year, Smoke.
Yeah.
And we don't know.
Post-type sleeper, Justin Smoke. The Smoke Monster.
Smoke Monster. Lonnie Chisenhall.
You know what? He's going to be up for Cleveland sooner than later.
I know.
I mean, literally,
we're waiting for him.
Was it you that I had the discussion with? I think it was you and I that had the discussion that Jack Hanahan is the worst player ever to be in Major League
Baseball. We did that
Baseball.
last year. He's the worst fantasy player of all time, and he's their starting third baseman.
He's right now. He's the odds-on favorite because Jason Donald got hurt to be the starting third baseman for the Indians. I think you see, and Chisenhall had a monster spring.
It's 500.
Right. So they're talking well, look, we want to let the system play out, whatever. Chisenhall's coming up as soon as he can.
Well, but they're in the same position that the Mariners are with Pineda. You wouldn't bring him up and lose a year of arbitration with him.
Right.
So you have to wait. I forget what the exact date is, but they have to wait a month, then he comes up.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have Aaron Hicks in Minnesota, Desmond Jennings on Tampa, Martin Perez, the Texas flamethrower,
Rap.
and Alexander Colome, who's the weak link of our prospects. But that's a pretty nice farm system. We had to tank for 2 years to get that farm system.
That is a ridiculous farm system. And then we have 12 teams, I assume? 12-team AL only?
10.
Okay.
And then we have the number 1 and number 9 overall picks. So we are basically the Royals of fantasy life.
I would actually, to be honest, with this whole Pineda, if I was you, I actually would try to deal that pick. You have enough young guys. You've got a lot invested in young guys this year. You don't need to do another guy. To me, I would trade that pick. Trade that pick for somebody that can help you this year. You've been building for a while, right?
Well, I think the thing with Pineda is if he's not in there, then we're kind of screwed because the next few guys are all the same guy. I mean, they're all like a varying talents, but same value basically. And it's just tough to take Manny Machado. I mean, he's 18 or 19. It's like you're going to wait 4 years for this guy. And what happens, when you're 19, think all the bad ways your life can go. You're on the road making $50 a day. It just worries me. I'd rather have the guy who's ready to go. And then the 6'5" guy in Safeco Field is kind of enticing.
I mean, there's
Baby Felix. He's going to have the Baby Felix nickname. A lot of stuff going on. We should move on because absolutely nobody cares.
No one cares.
Literally not one person.
No.
Except the people in my draft.
The people in your draft. I barely care. I'm doing this out of politeness. So.
Brandon Belt?
Brandon Belt's ridiculous.
What a great name. Can you think of 5 better baseball names for a hitter ever?
No, not off the top of my head. I mean, Brandon Belt's pretty good. That's like Roy Hobbs-esque. That's like right in there if you were doing a movie.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good name. It's a good name for a power hitter, too.
Well, and they also have Buster Posey, which is an awesome name for a catcher. It's the all-great name team.
It's pretty good. I think my guess is Belt is up by June.
Oh. Interesting. Pat the Bat Burrell is still on that team. Aubrey Huff.
Yeah.
Miguel Tejada. Great names on that Giants team. Couple more. The Japanese shortstop on Minnesota. What do you think?
I think we don't really know. I think too many people overhype that. I mean, for every Ichiro, there's a Kaz Matsui. I think he's probably 10 to 15 steals and a decent average, and that's pretty much it.
It is funny that everybody always goes to Ichiro as the go-to card for any guy who put up a lot of hits in Japan, and nobody mentions all the other guys.
Right. Well, who else would you go? I mean, who are the other options? Sometimes there's just one guy.
Well, I would say that Matsui worked out.
Yeah.
Ichiro worked out. Kaz Matsui did not work out.
No. Hideki Arabu did not work out.
Well, that's pitcher, though.
All right. Well,
what about the Cubs guy? Is it fair to say he's...
Kosuke Fukudome? Yeah, I don't think he did.
So he didn't work out? I was going to say jury's still out, no?
He's a fourth outfielder to me.
Okay, jury not out. Jury's in with a verdict.
For me, he is. He's fine.
All right. But
he's not like a big... Certainly, I mean, from a fantasy perspective, which is what we're talking about, he's never been anything great. This is stupid, but I think the more complicated the name is, the less of a chance it has to work out. What do you think of that? This guy's name is Toshiyuki Nishiaki. What are the odds that guy's going to be... We're going to have announcers trying to pronounce that unless he can come up with a name. We start calling him T-Bone or something. I think there's not a lot of statistical analysis in that particular theory. I disagree with. Let's get
the guys from Fangraphs on that.
Exactly, please. Somebody. Yes.
Quickly, a couple more.
Yeah.
Jake McGee, who is yet another of those guys who is a setup guy who could easily become the closer. Because I don't know if people realize this, but Tampa Bay is the latest team to play we think maybe Kyle Farnsworth can be a closer.
Right. No, they're right.
I think we've been down this road before.
Yeah, about 1 million times before. At some point, don't people learn? I guess not.
No.
I guess not. Baseball's one of those things where it's like you just have to get in the club. I feel like that's baseball and sitcoms are the same way. I'm trying to think of who's the sitcom example of Kyle Farnsworth.
Well, old school Ted McGinley.
Yeah, but Ted McGinley was on hit shows. I disagree. Who's the guy that I feel like they keep giving chances to?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Until it finally popped, right? But for years it was George Clooney. Everyone was he's a movie star, and they kept giving him shot after shot after shot.
Mm.
And in fact, pilots too in TV. He was around for a long time.
I was going to say that
until he got ER, and now of course, obviously he's a monster star, but. So who's the Kyle Farnsworth of show business that you don't understand why that person keeps getting shots?
Originally it was going to be I was going to say the guy from Hawaii 5-0, but he actually that Alex O'Loughlin or whatever his name is, but that show's actually doing well.
Right.
Who's the girl in?
I'll tell you, there's an actor that no one will know who this guy is, but because he still hasn't hit. But there's a guy named Michael Landis. Sweet guy. back in my showbiz days, I wrote on a show called Union Square. And every year, Michael Landis was like the lead of like the hot pilot. Union Square, believe it or not, was like the hot pilot that year because it was between Friends and Seinfeld. And just never hit.
I was going to say,
but no one knows who that guy is.
The girl who was on Friends, who was Joey's girlfriend, and then
Maggie Wheeler.
Not Maggie Wheeler.
Not Maggie Wheeler.
She was really cute, and everybody thought she was going to be a star, and she ended up on 4 sitcoms, and none of them made it.
I don't remember which one.
Yeah.
Maggie Wheeler was Chandler's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Kind
of knew she wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
It was like a poor man's Fran Drescher.
Yes.
Couple more quickly. Hank Conger?
I like Hank Conger.
Of your beloved Anaheim Angels?
I like Hank Conger a lot. Like, he's going to get a chance, by the way. I mean, he can hit. He'll find his way into the lineup one way or the other. So.
It's so cliched, though, a Korean catcher.
Yeah, so many of them. Yeah, exactly, right.
Plus, Hank Conger, another great name.
Yeah, but Mathis can't hit. I mean, Mathis
I think
can't
he's
hit.
in.
Yeah, I mean, so I like Hank Conger a lot. Like, that's a guy. Like, if you're talking AL only sleepers. Here's what...
Hold on, can I say one counter to that, though?
Sure.
Because Hench and I almost traded for him, and we talked this out for, 4 hours. Sosha, former catcher, defensive catcher.
Yes, true. All true.
Not a fan of the offensive catcher who hurt your team defensively. It bothers him. That's why you traded Mike Napoli, who's going to hit 35 homers in Texas this year. Because he likes the guys. He's like a Molina brother type manager.
Yeah, all true, but you could see Conger maybe DH some. You could see him potentially play some first base with Kendrick Rouse. Who knows? They could try him there maybe. I don't know. To me, I think if I'm spending $1 or $2 in an AL only draft, I mean, do you guys play 2 catchers?
Yeah, I'm with you on Conger, and he'll get overpaid in our draft because everybody likes offensive catchers. You said you like Kenley Jensen.
Yeah. By the way, why do I feel like no one's ever going to hear this BS report? This is literally just your prep for the League of Dorks. Like, this one actually isn't going to go up. I'll be like, Bill, where's the BS report? They're having website problems. Let me talk to Meade.
It's going up the day after my draft.
Right. Exactly.
Jesus Montero might not make the Yankees.
Yeah, Buster actually came on our podcast yesterday and told us that you've got Russell Martin there and Francisco Cervelli. They feel more comfortable with the pitching staff. So
I got to say, I watched Russell Martin on the Dodgers and kind of felt like he was borderline washed up, and now he's going to a much tougher division, all that stuff. And I think Cervelli's kind of a little bit of a sleeper. Am I wrong? I thought he could hit. I thought he was good last year. No?
Not really. I mean, last year, let's see, 271, no home runs.
No homers?
No home runs, 27 runs, 38 RBIs, and 266 at bats. So, like half a season. Basically won't kill you with the average. That's about it. Not a lot of pop.
How about that? Well, our league counts on base. That's what I was thinking. He was 359 on base.
Yeah, okay. So there you go.
And if he gets, I just think somebody's got to get at bats, a catcher for them, and he might get 400 at bats. That's a good $1 guy if your league counts on base.
Yeah, I'm a believer in that. If you're not going to go whole hog on catcher, you go cheap.
Yeah, you just want somebody who's not going to kill you by like Jason Varitek last year, like one of those guys.
Right. Exactly.
Zach Britton on the Orioles, we both like him.
Yes. They got a lot of young arms though. They got a lot of young arms there in Baltimore.
He really worries me,
the guy that I love, and I'm not alone in this, is Brian Mattis. Like, I think Mattis was just ridiculous down the stretch. I think Mattis, this is kind of like going to be the last year you sort of get Mattis cheap. I think he's very legit.
And he also, as we talked before, the classic example of the guy who gets roughed around his first year and then comes back.
Right.
And the second year.
Yeah, I liked what I saw. The thing that I liked about Mattis is, he made adjustments and, got roughed up a little bit early. But you look at his numbers over the, last 6 weeks or something like that, last 2 months, really, really strong.
Corey Lubke of the Padres.
Listen, can't go wrong with Petco.
No, Petco and Safeco.
Right.
Anything with a co, you're okay. Dustin Ackley, who is on my team, so I'm biased, but I got to say, I think this guy's a major sleeper.
Everyone loves him. I don't know that he's a major sleeper because I think everyone knows him. I think everyone knows who he is.
He's going to be good.
Yes. No
Jordan Walden, we both like.
Right.
I think he ends up. I think you're right. It's going to be between him and Jepsen. I personally actually like Jepsen. I think he's good.
Yeah, I do too. But I mean, he's not Walden.
Mike Moustakas getting a little too much buzz, and it always, as we learned with Alex Gordon, the Royals are like the Clippers, where you can get as excited as you want about the prospects, but there's some sort of Royal stink that goes on you.
By the way, cut to the Royals owner going, whoa, did I just get compared to Donald Sterling? What's that about?
I know. He's like a Donald Sterling that doesn't hate. I'm going to do the joke again that Joe Mead had to edit out. You know who the Royals owner reminds me of, Matthew Berry?
Who's that?
He's like a Donald Sterling who doesn't get involved with racial lawsuits. Good fake bat. Thank you for the fake bat.
Thank you very much.
Brent Morel?
Yeah, listen.
White Sox, third baseman.
Yes, of course. Mark Teahan, I don't believe
he stinks.
Is any good. I was just going to say. For your purposes, like Morel's going to make the team.
Yeah.
He'll probably be the starter.
A little bit of a sleeper.
Yes.
Same with Lowry on the Blue Jays. Getting a lot of buzz.
Mm-hmm.
You like him?
I do.
Second baseman?
Yeah, I do like him.
Well, where does Aaron Hill play if he plays? Or does he play third base? What happens with that position?
There's a lot of different things that could happen there because you can move Bautista to the outfield. Frankly, you can move Lynn to the outfield. Lynn's playing first base. My boyfriend, Edwin Encarnacion, who I love, I believe he's going to be the third baseman there.
You have a fetish for third baseman at 190?
Yeah. I believe he's going to hit 250. I believe Edwin Encarnacion is going to hit 250. Listen, for where he's going in drafts, Edwin Encarnacion, in his career as a Blue Jay, Bill, Edwin Encarnacion has hit a home run every 16 at-bats. Just to give you a comparison, Albert Pujols hits one every 14 at-bats. He's got unreal power.
Unfortunately, I've seen him play. That's my only rub with him.
But listen, that's your mistake. Don't watch him play.
Don't watch him play. Just judge his stats.
Just enjoy the stats. There's no question he is not for the batting average averse. But I think he could hit 40 home runs, and where he's going so late in drafts. He just needs to stay healthy.
It reminds me of Fangraphs Day. Somebody wrote a good post about Willie Ibar. Like, what happened to Willie Ibar? His stats were pretty good. He was young, and I was reading it, and I'm thinking, like, this all makes sense, but maybe Willie Ibar is just a lunatic. maybe there are reasons that have nothing to do with stats that he's not playing. Maybe he has personal issues. But it is funny, like, when we just think of these guys in statistical perspectives only, and then like Encarnacion is another example. Like, yeah, it all makes sense on paper. I understand the power, but when you watch him play, it's just really hard to think that he'd ever be good. You know what I mean?
I think probably a better fantasy player than real life player. But I actually, from a fantasy perspective, by the way, I like the Blue Jays. I think there's a lot of fantasy potential around the Blue Jays. I think Adam Lind and Aaron Hill both got really unlucky.
Snyder too. Snyder was coming on like a freight train, and then he hurt his wrist. It set him back 3 months, but he had a really good September. Though.
Yeah, a lot of people like Travis Snyder, rightfully so.
He's good.
He's going to be really good. Rajay Davis, I think, is a guy that's going to he's going to wind up with 40 steals.
Yeah. Hold on, go back to Adam Lind for a second.
Yeah.
Because we had him 2 years ago when he had his breakout year,
right?
And we had him last year when he took a big poop, put it on a plate, and mailed it to the Blue Jays fans and all of his fantasy owners.
Yeah,
kind of feels like he's going to come back this year.
I think so. A 277 BABIP for your buddies over at Fangraphs.
So you're saying he's super unlucky?
Yeah, he got really unlucky. Unlucky last year. The power was there on Lind. It was just the batting average that killed you, and you have to figure like he can't be that bad. He can't be that bad, So to me, I think Lind is a real sleeper, and
they also had the random Juan Rivera pickup, who whenever he plays, he does pretty well.
It wasn't random, by the way. It
wasn't random, but it was random and like it was kind of sneaky under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say it wasn't random because they got rid of Vernon Wells to my crappy Angels. I don't know.
That's a good
the
point.
Most untradeable contract ever. Yeah, who trades for it? My Angels. Good times.
Okay, but can I just say that I kind of like Vernon Wells as a fantasy sleeper this year?
You know why? I don't disagree with you in this sense. No one likes Vernon Wells. I actually put Vernon Wells on my hate list, my love-hate.
Well, because it's one of those guys you don't feel good about taking.
No.
And those are the guys that always go for $5 less than they should because you're like, crap. Yeah, I got Vernon Wells. Oh, great. It's like Alex Rios last year.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. He's gonna hit 20-something home runs, average that won't kill you. And on the Angels, maybe he steals more. This is a guy who's stolen 15 bases in his career before, like in a season.
Well,
so he could run more on the Angels. They like to run there. I don't like him just because I'm an Angels fan and he's a big name, but you know what? I felt like for years he was always overdrafted because he was a big name, but I feel like the hate's finally caught up to where he should be, and it's even in fact gone a little bit too far because I think people are
gone too far.
Yeah.
Well, there's two other things. The Toronto fans hated him.
Right.
And I think it's tough to play in a place where the fans hate you, obviously.
Right.
So a little fresh start action. And also, he gets to play with Torrey Hunter, who by all accounts has a lot of the same qualities that Gandhi had. And has a healing power on teammates and everyone who surrounds him.
I've actually met Torrey Hunter once or twice. Could not be a better guy.
Yeah, everybody says like he changes your life when you spend 10 minutes with him.
He's a great guy.
A good guy for Vernon Wells, I think.
Can't hurt, certainly. And Brandon Morrow just went on the DL. I think they're saying he's only going to miss one start. A little bit of a red flag because he's had some injury issues, but that's a guy that I think is going to take the next step.
Well, I think he's going to take the next step to Dr. James Andrews' office. Is my prediction. Well, I'm just stop it. Forearm stiffness makes me nervous. I don't like forearm stiffness.
As well, you should. I mean, no one likes
good injury.
No one likes forearm stiffness, at least in their pitchers. But I feel like Brandon Morrow, if you look at the underlying numbers, and as long as you're going sabermetric, a 3.16 FIP.
Ooh.
A 4.49 ERA, but a 3.16 FIP.
I'm with you. He pitched one of the best games I saw last year. So I'm on the Brandon Morrow. I get his talent, but he's a guy who had issues with his arm when he was in Seattle. That's why they got rid of him. And now he's having issues again. He's
had trouble staying healthy, so a little bit buyer beware.
You know what, Barry? We're going to have to take this to a part 2. You cool with that?
Let's stick around.
All right.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at PodCenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.